This video is for Theme Modeling and Simulation Unit Flashy. In this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to use something called tweening to let the computer or let the software of Flash CS5 manipulate your images for you. So to do this, we're going to go back to the timeline and make sure that we're on frame 1. On frame 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle that has an outline colour of red and a fill colour of yellow, and I'm going to draw that circle in the top left hand corner of my screen. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to insert a page on, or a frame on frame 20. To do that, I click on frame 20, right click and insert keyframe. So I now have on frame 1 a yellow circle with a red outline. On frame 20 I have exactly the same, a yellow circle with a red outline. Now keyframes are points at which we can do something on the stage. For example, if I click on frame 2, there is no keyframe there, so I cannot do anything to this circle. If I do, for example I move it, it will have a knock-on effect to every other frame from 1 to 19. So at frame 1 I want my circle to be in the top left hand corner. On frame 20 I'm actually going to move my circle to the bottom right hand corner. So what you can see now is that on frame 1 to 19 the circle is at the top left hand corner, and then on frame 20 I put a keyframe in and I've moved that circle to the bottom right hand corner. Now what I'm going to do is click on frame 1 of my timeline. I'm then going to right click on frame 1 and select Create Shape Tween. You'll notice that what this does is it turns the keyframes or the frames from frame 2 to 19 to green, and then there is a fill line or arrow going from frame 1 to frame 20. If yours looks like that, then it has worked. If yours instead looks like a dashed arrow pointing from frame 1 to 20, then it hasn't worked, and I'll explain why later. But for now, you can see that what I've done is I have frame 1, circle, top left hand corner, frame 20, circle, bottom right hand corner. And by doing a shape tween, the software will automatically move that circle from one position to the other. What's really good about this is what I might want to do instead is on frame 1, yes I want a circle, but on frame 20 maybe I don't want a circle, I actually want a square. You can see now that the dashed line has appeared because I have nothing for the computer or the software to turn this shape into. So on frame 20 I'm now going to draw a square. Notice how I get to the rectangle tool. I click and keep hold of the oval tool button and select the rectangle tool. I'm going to change the colour of the rectangle tool to a blue outline and a green fill, and then draw my square at the bottom right hand corner. So this time on frame 1 I have a circle in the top left hand corner, and on frame 20 I have a square on the bottom right. Now what the tweening will do is it will change that shape for me, circle to square. We could also do something different. For example, if on frame 1 if I didn't want a circle and instead I use the paintbrush tool and I wanted to write something, for example, like my name, it can then take that shape and it can manipulate that shape into the square or rectangle. Something to be aware of when using the shape tween is that if you decide that you want to shape tween other shapes, then it's really important that you create another layer and do the next shape tween on that layer. What that means is, per layer, I can only manipulate one shape into another. So, if I wanted to then manipulate another shape, such as this circle, into a square, then I would have to do this on a separate layer. So now I've got two shape tweens going on, but notice that that can only happen if you put them on different layers. Good practice would be to label these layers. And to do that, I simply double click on the layer or the name of the layer and type in what I want to label it as. So, circle to square and Mr. Wood. I clearly then know which layers I'm referring to. Remember that I can extend each of these animations. For example, if I wanted to extend the animation of the Mr. Wood layer to go from Mr. Wood to a rectangle to a circle, I could simply insert another keyframe on that layer. I might then want to delete this square from that keyframe so nothing exists on that keyframe, and then choose the shape that I want to manipulate it to, the position where I want to place that shape, draw that on the keyframe. So now you can see, for example, that on frame 1 of the Mr. Wood layer, I have the words Mr. Wood. On frame 20 of the Mr. Wood layer, I have this rectangle. And on frame 40 of the Mr. Wood layer, I have this circle. I then simply need to go to frame 20, right click, and tell the software that I want it to shape tween. And this will then take that rectangle and shape tween it into a circle. You'll notice that at frame 20, the circ to square layer stops. If I want to extend that one also, I would simply, again, insert another keyframe, decide what I want to do at that point on the keyframe. For example, I don't want this square. Instead, I want a polystar object. Just going to move that onto my stage. To select a shape, instead of having to draw a box around it like this, you can actually double click the shape to select all of it. If I single click that shape and drag it across, you'll notice that I only selected the fill. If I simply click here, I simply select that line. So what I need to do is double click the fill of the shape to select it all. I can then move that over here. Then again, back to frame 20, right click, create shape tween. And this is now what my animation looks like. Again, to play that, I click on frame 1, go to Control and press play. Alternatively, I can go to Control, Test Movie in Flash Professional, and watch the movie like this. So in that video tutorial, we've covered how to let the software manipulate the shapes that you are creating using shape tween.